paranormal shit, demons, but also the fact that these are all 100% true stories that actually happened. So from a man claiming to kill people because a possessed dog told him to do so, to the real-life story that inspired the Exorcist movie, for today's What the Fuck 5, we count down the 5 real cases of demonic possession. Number 1, the son of Sam. Still known as one of the most notorious and strangest serial killers in American history, the son of Sam was the nickname for the mass murderer David Berkowitz. In the summer of 1976, Berkowitz was found guilty of murdering 6 people and wounding 7 others with a .44 caliber pistol. After each murder, he would leave cryptic messages at the crime scene, taunting police and promising more violence in the future. Or at least that's what people say about his notes, because honestly, this just looks like a 4-year-old with fetal alcohol syndrome wrote it. Like, what is this? Bang, bang, bang! Nonsense. In other notes he left, he just drew shit. Maybe he wanted to show police how dope his stick figures were, I don't know. Because honestly, this drawing sucks. No offense, man. I know you're like dead or whatever, but this is terrible for like a 35-year-old man. Stop it. When he was finally apprehended in August of 1977, Berkowitz confessed to all 8 counts against him, where things only really got weirder. During his confession, he claimed that the real reason he murdered people was because his neighbor's dog Harvey was possessed by a demon and told him to do so. Okay, as far as excuses for murder go, that is pretty fucking awful. Like, come on, man. You can think of something better than that. And also, why does everyone blame a dog when something happens? Didn't do your homework? My dog ate it. Just farted in front of your crush? God damn it, random dog on the street being charged with murder? Dude, it was the dog. Unfortunately for Berkowitz, neither the judge nor jury bought his story, and he was sentenced to 6 consecutive life sentences. Well, great. If he was telling the truth, now there's just a demon-possessed dog telling people to murder people. Fucking good job, guys. I mean, he could have at least questioned the dog. God. But after Berkowitz went to prison, he finally came clean. To say that the real reason he murdered people was that he was in a satanic cult and the murders were ritualistic. Number 2, the Ronald Doe exorcism. He witnessed several objects moving around the room on their own, while the boy himself appearing to resist any form of exorcism. The pastor tried all the way the fuck around. Like, does your neck like just hurt for a long time after that, or are you just totally fine and the demon somehow like your neck up, but then I don't know. Way the fuck out of there. Basically saying, yo, hell no, bitch. And recommending to the mother that she get help from a professional Catholic priest. Taking his reform. Unsurprisingly, the next day, the pastor decided to get the fuck out of there, basically saying, yo, hell no, bitch, and recommending to the mother that she get help from a professional Catholic priest. Taking his advice, the mother contacted Roman Catholic priest Edward Hughes. Mother believed was obviously demonic possession. What are you talking about? This is puberty. Before too long, the mother called her Lutheran pastor Miles Scholes he murdered people was that he was in a satanic cult and the murders were ritualistic. Number 2, the Ronald Doe exorcism. The real-life events that inspired the original Exorcist movie. The exorcism of Ronald Doe might be one of first fully publicized exorcism events in recorded history. 14-year-old Ronald Doe attempted to contact his deceased relative using a Ouija board. Never a good idea. Soon after, according to the boy's mother, he began levitating himself, contorting his body while strange carvings appeared on him, and speaking in different languages in different voices, which his mother believed was obviously demonic possession. What are you talking about? This is puberty. Before too long, the mother called her Lutheran pastor Miles Scholes, who came over and attempted to perform an exorcism. According to Scholes, during the process, he witnessed several objects moving around the room on their own, while the boy himself appearing to resist any form of exorcism the pastor tried to perform. Unsurprisingly, the next day the pastor decided to get the fuck out of there, basically saying, "Yo, hell nah, bitch," and recommending to the mother that she get help from a professional. Taking his advice, the mother contacted Roman Catholic priest Edward Hughes, who rushed over and began to perform his own exorcism on the boy. Apparently, he performed the ritual over 30 times, while the boy taunted the priest and even injured him, breaking his nose. After performing the ritual in several different places, Hughes decided that his work there was done and nothing more could be done to help. Luckily, shortly after, the boy seemed to recover, where it was reported years later that he led a, quote, ordinary life. So at least there's that. I always wonder, though, in those situations where, like, you know, the exorcism movie where the head turns all the way the fuck around, like, does your neck like just hurt for a long time after that, or are you just totally fine and the demon somehow like fucked your neck up? But then I don't know. I'm done ranting about this. I'm sorry. Number 3, Michael Taylor. The exorcism of Michael Taylor is definitely the strangest one on this list. Michael and Christine Taylor were a religious couple from a small town in England called Ossett. In 1974, Christine believed that her husband was having an affair with the leader of their prayer group, which he denied and started acting oddly. And by oddly, I mean instead of just saying, "No, honey, you're the only vagina I touch," he would yell out weird things and throw his shit around the room like a gorilla. Christine, instead of enlisting the help of the police, which is probably what you should have fucking done, decided instead to turn to the aid of the Anglican priesthood, who came over and performed an exorcism on Michael that lasted nearly 2 days and claimed to exorcise almost 40 demons. 40? One demon in you is bad enough, but 40? Fuck! Hey demons, house party in Michael Taylor's body. Even more surprising though is after the exorcism, the priest believed that Michael still had demons inside of him, and they may have actually been right, as that night he murdered his wife by ripping off her face, pulling out her tongue, and gouging her eyes. In addition, he also killed his dog, who had been strangled, his legs had been torn from its sockets, and his eyes and tongue were also removed. After this, apparently Michael walked the streets around his house naked and covered in blood until apprehended by police. Police. When police questioned him, he seemed to have no knowledge of the killing, claiming that he loved his wife and never would have wished such horror upon her. Oddly, during the trial, he was deemed insane and found not guilty for his wife's murder. After only serving 4 years in a psych ward, he was released back into society. Since then, he's attempted suicide over 4 times and even had a brush with the law where he was accused of inappropriate conduct with a minor. Dude, this guy just sounds fucking awful. Like, I don't want to discredit the court system there in England, but fuck, this guy's the worst. Number 4, Carolyn Perrin and the Perrin Children. So if you've ever seen the movie The Conjuring, then these names might be familiar to you, as the entire movie was based around the bizarre events that unfolded around a mother and her father. 5 daughters. The events began in 1970 when Carolyn purchased a quaint home in rural Rhode Island that she believed was her dream home. Instead, as time went on, her daughters told her of several disturbing encounters in the night, from hearing strange whispers, being pulled from their beds at night, and seeing the ghost of a woman who hung herself from the bedroom ceiling. While at first Carolyn didn't believe her daughter's shit only got worse, and eventually Carolyn herself was the target of paranormal torture and she was then possessed. That's what they decided to call renowned paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren, who claimed to discover the home's terrible secrets. The property had apparently seen its fair share of suicides and crimes, including a witch who sacrificed her child to the devil. Okay, that might be something that you want to disclose when you're selling a home. Yes, it's a 3-bedroom, 3-bath, magnificent backyard. And a witch sacrificed her son to the devil over there. Wait, what was that last part? The kitchen. And while spiritual cleanses were performed on the property, it did little to help the family, where eventually they moved to Georgia, where evil had apparently followed them, but not as bad as it was reported in Rhode Island. Again, this is another thing that always just like bugs me so much about hearing these kind of things, is like, if I lived in a house where even I got maybe a hint that something was fucked up, or like I got scratches in the middle of the night, or like someone was pulling on my fucking feet, I would be out of there so fucking quickly. Like, I don't get it. Why do people just like, oh, it's fine, yeah. It's just annoying, but I guess they learned their lesson. And finally, at number 5, Julia. So this one I find especially scary just because of how recent it was, just 9 years ago. So apparently the girl only known as Julia was a patient of Dr. Richard Gallagher from the New York Medical College, who Gallagher claimed had a, quote, long history with satanic groups. Just my type of girl. That was a joke. Totally kidding. My type of girl is a girl who wants to play video games on the first date, not rip out a goat's heart and eat it while listening to death metal. I'm sorry for all of those out there who are watching this who got their hopes up. Apparently Julia had approached Gallagher asking for his help, as she thought she might have been possessed by a demon. As Gallagher, other nurses, and even nuns studied her while she was in the college, they all claimed to have witnessed Julia levitate 6 inches off the ground while objects flew around the room. As priests came to perform an exorcism, Julia apparently cursed out in Latin, a language which she didn't speak. In addition to just the tone of her voice being different, Julia's demeanor changed, as she would often yell out insults to the priests, saying, "Leave her alone, you idiot. She's ours, and leave, you imbecile priest." Wow, that is just plain fucking rude. You need a fucking timeout, demon. Imagine telling a demon that. Excuse me, demon. You need to chill out. You're being hella rude. Okay. Anyways, the weird part about this story too is that no matter where I look, I can't seem to find out what happened after this. Like, in every article, it just shows that the exorcism took place. It doesn't like show what happened after that, or if like she's fine now, or if she like died, or anything. It's just blank. So I don't know if that means that they just don't know, or they stopped studying her or something. But yeah, I don't know. I just found that really weird. Anyways, that's enough of this terrifying shit. But you know, you guys keep asking for it, so there you go. I don't need good dreams. Anyways, my question of the day for you guys is, what is the scariest thing that you've ever witnessed? And I swear to God, if any of you fuckers leave a comment in the comment section down below saying, "Scariest thing I've ever seen is the guy with the 2007 haircut in 2017, I'm gonna fucking lose it." Just jokes, I don't care. But yeah, leave those in the comments down below.
Kids upstairs that like to play. We have an older lady that sits around. Every once in a while, somebody spots her. We get a shot of her.
Now, she's not talking about people. She is talking about ghosts hanging around what some say is a real-life haunted house in Metro Detroit.
Haunted houses pop up all over the place this time of year for Halloween.
But some say the Orson Star House in Royal Oak is haunted all year round.
7 Action News reporter Simon Chowdhury went ghost hunting with a paranormal investigator.
Is there any way that you could tell us your name? Can you tell us how old you are?
And that's how one of John Tenney's investigations begin. He's a paranormal researcher seen on popular TV shows. We met with him at the Orson Star House in Royal Oak. It's been called one of the most haunted homes in our area.
When you're doing some kind of paranormal investigation, you always look for a house that has a good history, something that you can track back and find out facts and evidence about.
The house was built in 1845 by a farmer and cowbell maker, Orson Starr. Using recording devices and other technology, investigators have learned about several ghosts through EVPs, electronic voice phenomenon.
Recording now.
It is very intensely strange when you run analog or digital recorder and you know you're the only person speaking and you hear a reply.
We have kids upstairs that like to play. They do not do well with men, they do better with women. We have an older lady that sits around. Every once in a while somebody spots her, we get a shot of her. Her name is Catherine, from what we get from the EVPs. And we also have EVPs of a gentleman downstairs. He's a very angry little gentleman, from what we understand.
Candace Isaacson is on the Orson Star Homes Historical Society. She tells us the Star family lost 3 young children within a week in the home.
We think that that's what's haunting the upstairs. We have people that claim they're touched. We have people that claim they've been pushed down the stairs.
Candace says a visitor once kicked the ball down the stairs. The woman then immediately fell down the steps, claiming she was pushed, but no one was behind her. Could it have been one of the kids?
They're just trying to seek out some type of communication between us. And I think that we can misinterpret that as evil or bad.
We did a brief hunt using recording devices, but it seems the ghosts were pretty quiet during our visit.
I get the question all the time, what's the most haunted place I've ever been to? The true answer to that question is any place is haunted. The most haunted place in the whole world is the world. They're all around us, everywhere that we go.
If you want to check out the Orson Star House, you can. They're hosting a ghost tour on the 22nd at 8 p.m. For more information on that, just go to our website at wxyz.com. In Royal Oak, Simon Chowdhury, 7 Action News.
All right, do you believe in ghosts?
Some of the ghosts here at Broadcast House are pretty scary, too.
It's been around a long time. Oh,
Been a godsend since I was sick. My doctors were really stumped at first, but we figured it out. The doctor prescribed me a medicine to take every 6 hours. It's supposed to help with the pain. My wife is an excellent nurse. At first, I hated to have her do it. My illness was turning me into a person I didn't recognize. Moody, temperamental, and very impatient. But my wife just kept going, giving me these tiny blue and green pills that would cure my ails. But my symptoms worsened. My nose started to bleed profusely. My wife left a message with the doctor, but no response. I started developing bruises and my stomach was always upset. The doctor apparently thought this could be solved with an increase in medicine, so I began taking it every 4 hours. I smiled pitifully at my wife, thanking her for her devotion and swallowing that bluish pill. She ran a gentle hand through my hair. A fistful of hair come out along with it. I cried and cried, but I really just needed to be alone. I sent my wife to the store. A few minutes after she left, I realized I needed to take a dose. I weakly climbed out of bed and made it to the medicine cabinet. There were my little blue pills scattered loosely around the cabinet. I grabbed the pill bottle and unscrewed the cap so I could dump them back in. And that's when I saw it. My pills were white. The shed was old and weather-beaten and leaned to one side. It sat at the furthest edge of the backyard, backed up into the thick woods that designated the end of the Warrens' property. The only thing contemporary about the shack was the deadbolt lock meant to keep out everyone but the family patriarch Jack Warren, who guarded its contents as if it were precious religious artifacts. 10-year-old Evan Warren knew the rule about staying away from the shed, but he was achingly curious about what his father was hiding. Mother never talked about it, and always changed the subject when the shed was mentioned. Evan and his younger brother Jeb were playing catch in the backyard on a crisp fall day when Jeb missed the pass and the ball tumbled across the grass, coming to a stop near the shed door. When Evan went to retrieve the ball, he noticed that the door was ajar. "Whoa," said Evan as Jeb joined him. "Look! Dad must have forgot to lock it." "Come on," urged Evan. "Let's check it out." "No way, Dad will skin us alive if we go in there." "Chicken, I'm going in." A frightened Jeb ran back to the house without looking back. That night, Jeb came downstairs to dinner and saw 3 place settings instead of 4. His mother's eyes were red as if she'd been crying. His father was carving a roast. "Where's Evan?" Jeb asked. "Don't know anyone named Evan," answered his father. "And neither do you." Since the atmosphere changed, the land dried up. Farming was basically impossible, and people were starving. Andrea held the bundle tightly, racing deeper into the house to hide it. She could hear the footsteps outside, the telltale crunch of arid landscape. They were getting closer. The Wanderers. The Wanderers traversed the land looking for food. They were vicious. They would kill for beans. Andrea shuddered, feeling a nervous trickle of sweat skate down her spine. When she reached the closet, she knelt down and pried open a trapdoor with her broken, bloody fingernails. She laid her bundle on the floor of the trapdoor and covered it. She raced back to the living room, just as the Wanderers broke down the door. "Heard you had food," one said, licking his lips. Andrea shook her head vigorously. A jagged, toothy smile lit his face as he reached out his trembling hand to point. "You lie!" he hissed. "I have nothing!" They stomped through the house. Finding nothing, they turned to leave. A baby's cry broke through the silence. He smiled. "I knew you had food." It was 1 a.m. and Guy Halverson sat in his dark living room. The accident early that evening kept playing over and over in his mind. The light turned red, but he was in a hurry and accelerated. An orange blur came from his right, and in a split second, there was a violent jolt. Then the bicyclist rolled across his hood and fell out of sight on the pavement. Horns blared angrily, and he panicked, stepping on the gas and screeching away from the chaos into the darkness, shaken and keeping an eye on his rearview mirror until he got home. "Why did you run, you idiot?" he thought to himself. He'd never committed a crime before this and punished himself by imagining years in jail, his career gone, his family gone, his future gone. Why not just go to the police right now? You can afford a lawyer. Then, someone tapped on the front door, and his world suddenly crumbled away beneath him. They found me. There was nothing he could do but answer it. Running would only make matters worse. His body trembled. He got up, went to the door, and opened it. A police officer stood under the porch light. "Mr. Halverson?" asked the grim officer. He let out a defeated sigh. "Yes, I'm terribly sorry, but I'm afraid I have some bad news." Your son's bike was struck by a hit-and-run driver this evening. He died at the scene. I'm very sorry for your loss. I'm so tired. I'm starting to drift in and out of sleep without noticing. Sometimes I'll be wide awake, and suddenly I find myself in the kitchen with no recollection of how I got there. Was I asleep? My mind isn't registering sleep at this point. I don't ever remember my dreams. I used to have terrible night terrors, but I'm pretty sure those have been over for years now. I certainly wouldn't know now that I can't even recall going to sleep. Have you ever had a lucid dream? You know you're dreaming and you can do things in your dreams you couldn't do in real life. The last dream I remember is one where I was cooking. I was in the kitchen, slicing up vegetables on the mandolin. It hardly registered that I cut part of my finger until I saw it on the board. Horrified, I looked back at my hand. The finger had regenerated, but felt extremely warm. I remember laughing. I knew I was dreaming and began thinking I could do whatever I wanted because I could regenerate. I cringed as I test this theory by cutting off a whole finger. When I looked back at it, there it was, attached to my hand, but feeling so hot. The next test was to see if I could fly. Something I always wanted to try, but I would need to get to the roof first. I only made it a small distance before I was slipping on a wet spot. Slamming my head against the floor, I woke up out of my dream. In the kitchen, in a pool of blood, with 2 missing fingers. The antique mirror couldn't have been more perfect for the wall above a bedroom dresser. It took Janine 3 months of searching to find just the right one after her ex took the previous mirror out of spite. Prick, she thought, smiling. You lose. That night, a Kindle on her lap, a glass of wine on the bedside table, Janine relaxed against the pillows, engrossed in her latest novel. Her phone rang and she checked the number. It was her ex, Randy. Her eyes rolled and she disconnected, not in the mood for any more drama. Then, out of the corner of her eye, she saw a shadow move in the mirror. The only light in the room was from a small lamp on a bedside table, and she got up and went to a new purchase. At first, everything seemed as it should, but soon, an image formed of her ex-husband sitting on the bed, holding a handgun, and looking agitated. Her eyes widened and she turned around, but no one was there. And when she turned back, the image was gone. As a person who believed in premonitions, Janine called her ex back, but there was no answer. Panicked, she dialed 911 and told the dispatcher she thought Randy might be suicidal. He was a prick, but they had history, and she didn't want to see him do this. 15 minutes passed, and a phone rang. This is Officer Duncan. Miss Milano, we've located your ex-husband's car. Yes? She asked, watching the doorknob turn. It's parked in front of your house.
with Clipchamp.